I have no issue with Wolfman got Nards. This is what it is. It's a response video. There's no major disagreement either, but I do think there's something to say about being thorough and fair-minded. So what is Hellraiser Revelations? Well, for those completely new to the Hellraiser franchise, essentially Hellraiser 1 to 4 sort of worked somewhat coherently as a sequential story. But after Bloodline, basically these sequels don't seem to be really tied to the original mythology. They're just doing their own thing. And there have been better and worse sequels, but by a large degree, this is probably one of the worst of all the sequels. I think it's an interesting debate to have whether Revelations is literally the worst Hellraiser film. So is it one of the worst films of all time? Yes. Is it one of the worst Hellraiser films of all time? Yes. So what is there to really debate about this film? Well, again, I think we want to try to be fair, even though this film does not deserve fairness, because it is an abomination on so many levels. It's just an abysmal piece of trash. There's just not enough adjectives you can throw at this thing. This thing is really peak garbage. It is so stupid and fucking moronic. But let's try to be fair. So essentially, two kids, Nico, Steven, find puzzle box, open puzzle box, and of course chaos and murder and intrigue ensues, and there's a kind of weird Game of Thrones sex incest subplot where Emma apparently is being seduced by her brother. Yeah, nobody cares. This plot is pointless. This whole movie is pointless. We're just going to react to Wolfman going into, I think accidentally, how awful this film is.
Decides to start seducing her. Now, at this point, I thought, oh, that's a bit strange, but we find out why he does that later on, which I'll tell you about. But yeah, at this point in the movie, I'm like, what the heck is happening? It then cuts back to Steven choosing another victim, and then it goes back to her house. But
let me just stress, there's no conspiracy here between Winnie and Wolfman. I've just commented on some of his videos. I like most of his content. He's commented on my content. That's about it. But honestly, I was stunned that he accidentally edited the video to focus on that thing that seems to look like Frank, but looks like really bad cosplay. I want to stress, like Wolfman, this is, yes, technically a studio film, but it is a minimal effort studio film. Clearly, fan films or just fan efforts are way more methodical and way more interesting than this, whatever this is. It's just jaw-droppingly bad on so many levels. But I will dissent from Wolfman in two respects. He does say correctly that the practical effects are fairly good in this film, which, given the small budget, was pretty impressive. But there were two aspects that are somewhat redemptive of this film. One is that the concept of the Cenobites kind of got lost after the first film. They're not really supposed to be demons or these even angel figures. They're just theologians. Granted, they're weird theologians, but they're theologians. So this is going back to the original understanding where they're just very strange religious fanatics. However, they don't really do anything with trying to go back to the original. So the callbacks to the original film are okay. They're not great, but they're there. And there is, I think, some attempt to pay homage to the horror masters, for instance, Wes Craven, and yes, even Doug Bradley. And I think those were sincere. Beyond that, there is nothing good in this film. Like, the performances are bad. Most of the special effects are bad. The camera work is not great. It's just functional. Cinematography has no real style. The direction is minimally competent. There's almost nothing outstanding at all. Not the performances, not the makeup. There's just almost nothing really good about this film. I don't know if I should give this a 1 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10. It's a legitimately difficult decision. I think Wolfman concentrates rightly that there are just really insane contrivances within the plot. However, I think I am a little bit more forgiving than he is on certain loopy aspects to where the story goes.
Or what? This is why Nico takes it out on them, because he finds out, or he already knew, that his own mum was sleeping with his best friend's dad. Steven's dad kills Nico so that the Cenobites couldn't take him. If he just let the Cenobites take Nico, then he would feel eternity of pain. But instead, the Cenobites are like, oh, you've just taken Nico from us. What we'll do is we're going to take your wife now. So Steven's mother was taken instead. So Steven's dad's an absolute idiot.
Well, to be fair, I do think we can presuppose that the Hellraiser mythology has been there in this world for some time. It's not totally beyond belief that these characters might believe that their kid is a zombie resurrected from a hell dimension. And I think these actors actually putting in a decent effort. They read the lines, but the dialogue is so horrible and stupid that it's not going anywhere. Yeah, this is pretty much probably one of the rare films you should never ever watch. There's just nothing really good in it. This was just made strictly for legal, cynical corporate reasons to hang on to the license and hang on to the copyright, to deny the rights back to Clive Barker. And they just put this thing out there at a technical 70-minute mark to legitimately be quote, a real film and deny Clive Barker ownership of the Hellraiser franchise. So Doug Bradley's on record. He's denouncing this thing. Clive Barker says, I have nothing to do with this thing. It's just a horrendously bad piece of trash. But is it the worst film of all time? I don't know. I don't think that would be entirely fair. There were some good aspects. Being fair, between a 1 and a 2 out of 10, I'd probably break the difference at a 1.65. This will probably go down in history as one of the worst films ever in the horror genre. But it is so bad, it's not even a guilty pleasure. It's not something you want to watch. So save yourself the trouble and headache. Don't watch this thing.